gang, welcome back. Today I am so honored, so thrilled to be with Allie Magyar, the founder and CEO of Hubb. This is our 12 Questions with series. And rather than me telling you about what Hubb does, the first question will explain it all. So Allie, first of all, welcome.
Thank you. Excited to be here today.
Awesome. So in one sentence, tell everybody about your company.
Well, right now, the focus is Hubb being a virtual event platform that actually creates a similar to in-person experience, even though it's virtual.
And Hubb just completed the rollout and the running of the Untethered conference. Congratulations on that. Awesome stuff.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Untethered was formed because I spent most of my time in talking with friends and colleagues. I've been in the meetings industry for over 20 years, first as a planner and then as a tech founder, as I was trying to solve some of my own problems. And so as I started talking to more and more people as COVID hit, it was really apparent that we all needed some inspiration. We all needed a way of exploring in a safe way, thinking about what's next without our typical type A personalities of everything being perfect in events. And so Untethered was a brainchild that came together from 6 weeks to the actual event date. So it was very quick to plan an entire event experience. We ended up with almost 5,000 meeting planners from 60 different countries. And as a part of it, we also raised almost $18,000 for the Meetings Industry Fund, which is a nonprofit charity that supports meeting planners in need. So just an incredible experience to put together and be a part of.
Congratulations and kudos on all those fronts. So what does differentiate Hubb from the other products on the market?
Yeah, when I think about virtual events, there is definitely the platform where you consume your experience. There's the content, which is all, either live or on demand or simu-live, and the sponsor elements. But really, if we go back to why we host events in the first place, it's an event because of human connection. People like the ability to connect one-on-one or in small groups and have different ways of learning, not just a one-way conversation, but an actual participation role. And so where Hubb comes and plays uniquely in our market is the ability to not only have a stellar, flexible platform, the ability for all your content and sponsor needs, but really thinks about how do we connect people in a very meaningful way.
Cool. So which virtual platform do you use, or are you pretty agnostic if a client comes in saying we use Teams, we use Zoom, we use WebEx, or do you use your own?
Yeah, answer is all of the above. So a lot of it is figuring out what are you trying to accomplish and how many people are you trying to do it for at one time. So there's, I just got off the phone with a customer where we were talking about the biggest complexity is thinking about how you want to experience live content, because there are a lot of options and you need to have a best practice advisor that helps you to understand which one would be best to achieve the goals that you're looking for.
So the content comes before the technology, eh?
Yeah, when we're thinking about virtual events, it's so funny. People will call and say, the platform's going to fix everything. I'm like, no, hold on. Where is your strategy? Like, what are you trying to achieve? What is your event really, truly about? Because a platform is only as good as what you tell it to do. So we still have to take the same level of care and experiential design into a virtual event, just like you would in person.
Completely. So how would your product, or how would these products really help the industry move forward coming into our, shall we call it, PC post-COVID world?
Yeah, that's a good term. As we really think about events, I think something like this really just brings home how important events are to the marketing portfolio, because events are how people drive business. And in lieu of having events, how do we drive additional business? And webinars are only so successful. I don't know about you, Jim, but my email inbox is filled with hundreds of invites to virtual events, which is really just code word for a webinar that I'm going to sit on for 2 hours, a one-way conversation. And so we really have to think about, in our industry, how do we create an experience, whether it is virtual or whether it's in person, and how does that affect our business's ability to move forward? And so while we are in this post-COVID world, I think it's an opportunity for us to really think about expanding our reach, whether it's globally whether it's to different audiences, thinking about inclusive design across our events. And eventually, I'm a live event fan. Like, that's where I've spent my entire career, and I can see it coming back, but I also see it coming back always with a hybrid approach, because we're going to see the power of how we can expand and reach larger and larger audiences and provide inclusivity for people that maybe can't travel or don't want to travel, but still are a part of your business. So as we think about platform evolution and as we think about technology evolution, I think really honing in on companies that have the perspective of an in-person event as well as the virtual event, and making sure that the tool set can be used for both and not just one, so that you're not throwing money away and thinking about, oh, I have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to do something with this virtual event that I can't actually replicate in person, and now my budgets are all out of whack. So I think it's an opportunity for innovation.
So true. We'll get back to the hybrid in a minute, because that's also an important part of it. But if someone came to you and said, we have 500, 1,000, 2,000, what's the largest number of attendees that your platform can accommodate at the base price that you would offer them?
Yeah, our platform is very scalable because we used to do some of the world's largest technology conferences on our platform before COVID. So we're used to supporting in person with really large numbers of users. So we don't have a limit in terms of we can't handle more than X number of users. Mm-hmm. And I think what people are finding too in today's virtual world, and I've had hundreds of conversations over the last couple of weeks with different people trying to help them think about virtual. When you ask them about their attendee numbers, people say, I have no idea. I mean, I didn't have any idea when I planned Untethered. I thought, okay, maybe we'll get 1,000 people. That's our goal. We ended up with 5,000 people from 60 countries, right? So we had absolutely no idea how to measure the engagement from the audience. And in a virtual world, it's a lot, it has the capability to be able to reach much larger audiences. And you don't want to turn that away because it can grow your business. And so I think as we're thinking about virtual events, you need to make sure that whatever platform you're utilizing is used to being able to handle larger numbers than what you think may be your numbers, so that you have flexibility and you don't have to turn business away because your platform doesn't support the ability to scale.
So with that scalability, there's no limit on the number of breakouts either. Especially true, I would think, as I used to be an association planner with associations, we're looking to do multiple, driven sessions simultaneously.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to using technologies that understand what a live experience looks like. And I use the term choose your own adventure all the time, because that's how attendees get the best value. I may not be interested in this one session that you have, so why not offer 10 sessions so that each person can get their own unique value? Now, there's a lot of complexity and cost that comes with things if you want them live streamed versus maybe simu-live where they're pre-recorded. So for each of our customers, it's thinking through, again, goals and objectives. How does your content play a role in that? And really, where should you be putting your money for live sessions versus maybe your simulated live where no one even knows the difference, that it's not live, it's just how the production is managed behind the scenes. And since Hubb was built for live events that would have 20 concurrent sessions happening, that's the way our platform is. It services up information in a way that's easy for attendees to consume, whether it be live or on demand. And we have some associations that are coming where they have 500 sessions and then they have 1,000 poster sessions, because that's part of their educational event. And so you just have to think about the attendee experience behind each one of that content consumption points to be able to curate the platform in a way that makes sense. So a flexible platform is really paramount to thinking through the attendee journey.
It's funny, I didn't even think about the poster session. I used to run scientific and medical meetings, but this platform probably is perfectly tailored for those type of poster sessions as well.
Yeah, absolutely. What we're finding with poster sessions is, if you think about all of your breakout content and your live keynotes, like that's a part of your core educational program. And then taking all of your posters and making them on demand, where that you have the live interaction with chat. You can even host a live Q&A during a certain time. But thinking about how you can sort of get people to consume, if you go in and you see 1,000 posters, oh my gosh, your brain may explode. So you have to figure out ways of being able to say, I'm looking for, medical posters that are about cardiac disease that are done by doctors with 30 plus years of experience, to be able to curate from 1,000 down to the 5 that you really want to consume. So that's all part of thinking about your content strategy and the platform of servicing up that information.
A virtual poster session with search functionality. Gotta love it. Loves great stuff. So you talked about hybrid before. So you support hybrid meetings. What are you doing to ensure their success? Because that's going to be a new concept for an awful lot of planners.
Yeah, one of the things that I loved about Untethered was we got a lot of requests from people saying, how can we create Untethered Retethered? And let's explore what a hybrid event could be, just like we did with a virtual event. And that's something I'm definitely taking to heart. So I've been spending a lot of time brainstorming with our team of, when we can return to, smaller events, we should do this. Let's test out the bounds ourselves and really see, because part of it is you don't want a feeling of different experiences for people in person versus virtual. You have to think about how to connect those worlds together. And so again, to me, this is all in meeting design and where my background of being a citywide meeting planner comes into play, because experiential was everything that we thought about. And so as we think about hybrid, I think it really is reimagining what an event looks and feels like. What is the value for being in person versus remote? Do you charge differently for that? How do you make sure that you can connect people that are in person with your remote audience so you're still getting that human connection that's so incredibly powerful? So as a platform, the easy answer is to say that Hub has the ability to change what you see and what you do based on your custom role. So if you're a virtual attendee, you may see sessions that are live streamed and are on demand. But if you're an in-person attendee, you're going to see all those sessions with the rooms and actually go to the room during the day and time. So the platform piece of things can be very flexible, but to me, as we think about hybrid, it is so much more about experiential design and how we start to connect the in-person and the remote experiences together.
That real-time interactions, I think, what's been seriously missing in hybrid meetings, that the few that have happened over the years, because with people who are at a distance, they don't feel part of it.
Right. And I think that's where, I've been brainstorming, like, how would I design an event where you actually have connection pods? And when you're booking a meeting with someone, it is, through a virtual room. And then you just go to your connection pod one, and that's where you're having your conversation so that you can start to meld those together. And so as we think about, the new world of events, I think thinking about how we connect with technology is going to be a big piece of that. And I'm excited to rethink what an event looks like from the ground up as we start to think about hybrid.
So one of the challenges in the past 10, 15 years in our industry with technology has been bandwidth, getting enough at a live event. So from your perspective, what are the minimum and ideal bandwidth requirements planners need to talk about with the hotel, with the facility, in order to make sure a platform running on Hub works seamlessly?
And you mean in a hybrid situation?
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, I think a lot of that just depends on a variety of different factors. But obviously, the world doesn't run without internet. So that's my greatest fear, is if the internet goes down in the world, it's like, oh my God, what do we do? And I've had that happen at multiple events where we couldn't get the internet up and running in the facility, or the city was doing construction on a road and cut the pipe, and now there's no internet. So, there's a lot of scenarios that can end up happening. I think as we think about connectivity, you need to think through, what is the user experience on site going to be? How many devices are they going to use? How much are they going to be consuming remotely versus in the room? And as you start to think through some of that, what percentage of your audience is international versus, US based, so that how much bandwidth are they going to be pulling from the Wi-Fi. So I think a lot of that has to do with working with experts in the field as it pertains to your networking and your internet needs, to really figure out, what will it look like if all of your attendees are consuming purely virtual? Because as you open that up, even if you're in person, you're still going to be using those tools. I still would be sitting in a session and I would be using the live chat, and I'd be using the polling, and I would want to talk with attendees from all around the world. So even though I'm physically in my seat, I can guarantee you I'm still going to be participating just like I would as if I was a virtual attendee. So I think we really have to reimagine and rethink through our audience journey to make sure that we're supporting with the right infrastructure.
Unfortunately, a lot of planners haven't followed up with facilities in the past about getting their numbers that they needed. So they're starting from a blank slate right now. So it must be really difficult for you to help them out on that journey when this is the first time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, again, that's where I would recommend bringing in some experts. When we were producing really large technology conferences, we had a company, their name is F1, and that is all they did was focus on the internet connectivity on site and how was it managed and what did bandwidth look like. And we worked with a couple of other suppliers on having backups and redundancy to the internet. And so, that is an expertise in and all of itself. Like if someone called me and asked me to plan it, I'd be like, here, call these guys, because that's a whole different thing. And as we think about bandwidth requirements, not only in person, but then also virtual. So one of the things is I live in the middle of nowhere and I have satellite internet, and I have 2 kids that are trying to do live streaming calls all day for school. And I'm trying to work from home, and it's almost non-existent because I literally can't even load a YouTube video on my phone at some points in time because the internet isn't strong enough. So as we think about the need to be able to consume an event virtually, you really have to start to think about your content delivery. So are you delivering all your live streams in, high definition and 1080p, and, it's taking up a ton of bandwidth where someone's video is going to be buffering all day long like mine, where I can't even consume the content because it's too much, versus thinking about how do we sort of change up what we're giving to people based on their internet speed so that they can consume at the best quality possible. But then if they're on a really bad internet connection, maybe there's a much lower quality that you're giving them, or maybe some features are reduced to ensure that they can still participate.
Makes a lot of sense. So moving forward into what it's going to look like, VR clearly is a talking point. I've been playing with it for a while. Yeah. Are you incorporating that into any hybrid? Are you talking about the incorporation of VR, or is it too far in the distance to even consider having that conversation right now?
I am watching this fascinating show on National Geographic called Year Million. For anyone that is looking for the future of technology and AR and VR, you should watch this show. It blows my mind.
What is that again?
It's Year Million.
Cool.
And it's on National Geographic. It blows my mind and terrifies me all at the same point in time. But I think it is really interesting as we explore what the future looks like. And virtual reality, when people think virtual events, they think I'm in a 90s video game, because that's been a lot of the platforms that have been out here for a really long time. It's the same exact experience every time you log into an event, just a logo replaces on the chest and you feel like you're in some sort of bad video game, versus, VR and AR has the capacity to completely change our world as we continue to evolve. I think there's a lot of innovation happening right now in terms of how to consume VR and AR without the need for additional, headsets or additional technology that sometimes prevents users from getting fully immersed. And so I think we're going to see a ton of change. Out of the ashes typically brings the greatest innovations. And so there is some beauty in COVID in that we're forced to innovate. We're forced to change the way that we think. And so as you look at the correlation of where we are in technology and the advancement over the last 5 to 10 years, and then what we're going to see over the next 2 years as a necessity because of being forced at home, because of needing to still have global connectivity, I would say that everyone needs to be looking at what that means and exploring it in the right way according to your goals and objectives for your event. So don't let it be a shiny penny where it's like, I've got to have VR. Well, why do you need VR? How does it play into your experiences? And then make sure that you're willing to explore and try new things, because people really lean into that.
Yeah, the AR, which you mentioned, I think is even a hotter technology in a lot of ways. And I'm really interested to see how organizations are going to be using that for that walk into the virtual trade show booth, as opposed to just having it on your desktop. So many opportunities for great change.
Absolutely.
So what about virtual trade shows? Do you have a platform for that as well? How do you handle that?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, sponsors make our world go round in events. So I'm pretty sure we want to keep as much of the sponsor dollars as possible. So inside of Hubb's platform, one of the beautiful things about Hubb is I built Hubb out of my own necessity of being a meeting planner. So some of the first features that we came out with over 5 years ago was being able to manage the event from start to finish, so that it's your call for content, collaborating with grading committees, selecting and notifying speakers, having them update all their information. Same thing for sponsors. So Hubb's back-end planning tools are some of the best in the industry, coupled with then that attendee virtual experience as well. So with our virtual expo hall, each sponsor is able to have a variety of different connection points, whether it's sharing with a video or about their company, or handing out resources or links to their social media. But to me, it's all about the engagement. And, someone coming and reading about your company is one thing, but if they can join your virtual live room during show hours, or if they're able to chat with you live, or even better, see a list of all the people participating from your event and be able to schedule one-on-one meetings with them, just like they would on a trade show floor, I think that's where we start to mimic that same in-person experience. And then I think it goes into how do we create true engagement for sponsors in additional ways? So giving them sponsored sessions, thinking about, all of the t-shirt hunters that are out there where they only go for the tchotchkes on the trade show floor. How do we have a sponsor raffle page where instead of buying, $100 things, they could give away $100 Amazon gift card and really drive some engagement with attendees where they have to attend a live session and you draw a winner live. Like there's just a lot of ideas where, again, experiential design is everything. And it's all about providing those qualified leads to your sponsors and thinking outside of the box versus just saying, here, I'm going to put your logo somewhere. They're not going to pay the same amount that they used to if it's just marketing exposure with the logo. So we have to be very creative about thinking about engaging those sponsors. Jim, I think you put yourself on mute.
Yeah, I did. I'll bring it back right now. I was coughing. I didn't want it to be on there. Blew that one.
No worries.
But I did hear from you that the virtual and the live event really going to be one of the same, and we're not going to be thinking about them much differently as the years and perhaps even the months move forward.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think that, thinking about the virtual expo hall as a piece of that too is very similar. I mean, I can imagine a world where, yes, we're in person, but you also have someone back at home as a sponsor supporting your virtual booth, and they're just engaging with people. And as an attendee, I can either walk up to the booth, scan my badge and talk to someone, or I could go sit in one of the networking corners and join and talk to the remote person as well. It really just depends on how you're feeling and, how you best want to interact. It's all about optionality.
Yeah, indeed. So what are the other latest technologies that you're either integrating or considering integrating into the platform?
Yeah, I think that as we think about the virtual event, the other element that is incredibly compelling is think about our day-to-day lives and how we function just as humans. And we go on Amazon and we buy something, and then we're told, here's other things you may be interested in. All of a sudden, I've spent way too much money. Or I'm on Netflix and I see, here's other shows that probably are going to interest you. And I'm like, oh yes, these, it's learning every time so that I could spend all weekend just watching Netflix. So we really have to think about our day-to-day world and bringing those experiences into live and hybrid and virtual events as well. So for Hubb, our recommendations engine is a big piece of where we're going. So as you come into the event, not only do we have all of your static data, so of course, whatever you registered with or whatever you shared on your profile, but we actually then can learn from your choices. Who are you searching for? Who are you favoriting? What types of sessions are you attending? What booths did you stop by? So we can actually take live actionable data and make meaningful recommendations across sessions you might like, sponsors you may be interested in, or even people that you might want to connect with one-on-one so that people get the greatest value out of their time spent at an event.
Interesting to me, you didn't label that as artificial intelligence, even though it certainly is. Do you feel that the AI label has a bad rap for planners right now, that they're a little bit afraid of how that might change their conference, their event?
Yeah, I think when people think AI, they think robots. And so I tend to think about putting things in very simple terms of recommendations for people. It absolutely is AI because it's learning, right? It is artificial intelligence. It's taking millions of data points that we would have never been able to calculate as a human and then being able to make recommendations. So I think when people think AI, sometimes they get overwhelmed. And it's really important for planners to think about one step in front of the other. You don't have to boil the ocean with the very first virtual event that you do. So you definitely can say, I'm going to be in my safe box, and here's the one thing I'm going to explore with, and then continue to build on top of that. But if it were you and I talking, I think we'd definitely be talking about AI and all sorts of other things, machine learning.
all the cool stuff that's out there that's really impacting every piece of business out there. So one last question, the question everyone wants to know, minimum price for your core services, and what does the customer get for that price?
Yeah. So with Hubb, we have packages for virtual events starting at $20,000 and going up. So it definitely is a premium experience for attendees, but there's a lot of flexibility with that. And so if you're looking for a branded experience that looks and feels like a sense of place for your brand, if you're looking for attendees to be able to connect, meet peer-to-peer, have roundtable discussions, really bringing home that engagement element of attendee to attendee, that's really where our platform platform shines. If you just have a single session where you're wanting to live stream all throughout the day, I can make lots of great recommendations to Zoom or Vimeo to a variety of platforms. But Hubb is really meant to mimic the in-person experience and engagement and give you optionality for virtual and hybrid or live events. So really our platform's flexible to be accommodating all of those. And as a part of what you get for it, I mean, you get the brain power of people that are incredibly passionate about events. And so you also get assigned a dedicated account manager, you get lots of dedicated training, lots of opportunities to be able to grow your expertise and your knowledge.
Awesome stuff. Any final words you want to share or tell people about your great platform?
No, I would say, you know, one of my passions of being a meeting planner, probably for life, because I had so much fun planning Untethered, is that we do a lot of educational content. So if you head to hubb.me, so hubb.me, and go to our blog, we almost every other week have new webinars and new content that is purely educational and learning and teaching people about what virtual looks like, what hybrid looks like. And we're not afraid to share and to think big. So it's a great position to be able to be in, to be able to share with our industry and really help move it forward.
And we'll get the URL down somewhere here on the bottom or top row and put it at some point. Allie, thank you so much for being part of this and sharing all this great information. It's been a pleasure talking to you today.
Yeah, it's been great. Thanks for having me, Jim.
So thanks, gang. See you again next time. Be well and stay safe. Bye-bye now.